Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to your newest Arizona Diamondbacks podcast. We are Dbacks Dispatch. Just four guys that have a passion for the Arizona Diamondbacks. We're just going to start introducing ourselves. My name is Brandon. Been a Diamondbacks fan since about 2009. So not very long, but sort of long. I'm very excited to talk to the Diamondbacks with these four gentlemen. We had a ride this season. Josh?
Yeah, so I'm Josh. I'm technically a transplant fan, like a ton of Arizona Diamondbacks fans because I'm from Spain. But I moved here when I was super young, so I've the only thing I've ever known is Diamondbacks, here before the Bob was even built. So I've just been a fan all my life. Love the Diamondbacks, live, breathe it, So it's been a huge passion of mine. I'm really excited that we've been able to start this. We've been talking about it forever, and it's nice that we could finally do it because I think the biggest thing for me was that, I'm looking for different podcasts to listen to try and get, involved with a community, and there's not really much out there. So, no one else is doing it. We'll do it ourselves, right?
Facts.
And the guy two below me.
What up, people? So, you probably see me on Twitter because I'm a very annoying Dbacks fan on there a lot of times. But I am Brett. Kind of like, Josh and Brandon said, just always love talking about the Dbacks, whether it's with other Dbacks fans or just baseball fans in general. So, just really excited to get going on this, man. Like, this has been, work in progress. But it'll be fun to have not the the full media side. Like, yeah, we're fans, but like we have different perspectives from each one of us. Like, I'm a little overreactionary. Brand's a little more uses a little more logic sometimes than I would. But that's the nice thing is you'll be able to get like pretty much all kinds of different takes here. So that's what we're here. If you like Diamondbacks baseball, if you like just anything Arizona, like mostly, but Diamondbacks especially, you're going to love this. So make sure you stick around for more episodes.
And our fourth and final member.
I'm Gabe. I am the fourth member. I'm also a huge D-backs fan, but I've been a D-backs fan my whole life. I was born in 95. My memory starts in 98. I've loved them since then. And I remember seeing them win the World Series and everything. So I was excited to see, hopefully, them win as an adult. Didn't happen this year, unfortunately, but I'm still excited to see what's to come ahead with this group of young guys.
So everyone, that's the crew. You got me, Brandon, Josh, Brett, and Gabe. Join us for the ride. It's going to be a very interesting ride here for D-Backs Dispatch. We're going to try and cover everything that we can for you guys, not just the major league team. We're going to make sure that we spot the future there down on the farm. May have some special episodes. We may even get some guests that are with the team. So you're definitely going to want to tune in, get on the ground level because we are coming here at D-Backs Dispatch. As we all know, the season has just ended. The Diamondbacks made the World Series, but we lost in 5 games to the Texas Rangers.
Ooh.
Congrats, man. First championship.
Yeah, like it was interesting. As Brett was saying, he's very reactionary, he's an Arizona sports fan. He's used to it.
Yeah. True to it.
I still have the hope no matter what. Like, I'm still deep down, I'm always hopeful, but it'll always be that like I cope really quickly, and the best way to cope is just to go, you know what? If I don't care about it, if I just go to the worst case scenario. But that's just like Brandon said, being an Arizona sports fan, we're conditioned like this,
We are used to it. We are used to getting our hopes up and crash and burn. They did that several times this postseason, and I thought they would do the Arizona sports thing. They didn't. They absolutely didn't. The prime example for me was the Philly series. Game 2, we lost 10-0. I'm like, oh, they're going to come home. They're going to lose the next 2. And people say, oh, you didn't belong. That's not what happened. But that was just a little kind of glimpse as to I have to keep Brett checked. I'm like, Brett, you don't have to go negative. Just wait for it to happen before that. Don't put that out into the ether.
I'm very much a glass half full kind of guy.
He really is.
As Asmongold said, if you don't care about the outcome, you can't be hurt. But then I always care about the outcome anyway, so it doesn't matter.
But World Series, we're a couple pitches away from potentially taking a 2-0 lead. That Paul Sewald pitch, it's not like it was a bad pitch. That's what's Paul Sewald lives up in the zone.
And I remember, I believe I saw something like going into game 1 where someone was like, hey, Diamondbacks, or maybe it was like game 3. It was like, hey, Diamondbacks, if you want to learn how to pitch to Corey Seager, here's like the maps where pitches he doesn't handle well. It was basically the corners, like low and in, up and up and away. Like, not like he doesn't handle well. Like, Corey Seager is a fantastic hitter. We all know that. But like one of those were like the weaker spots for Corey Seager. And like, I think it's one of those where Paul threw exactly where like the scouting report said it, exactly where Gabby called for it. Just it's one of those moments where you got to tip your cap to Corey Seager. Like he was expecting it, and he just was the better player in that situation. Like trust me, it freaking sucked. I did not enjoy it any way, shape, or form. I went into like we were just talking about the glass half full. I was into full like depression session for a solid hour where I just sat there just like
it was rough.
Yeah, it hurt. But honestly, even looking back at it, it's like it could have been way worse than like, obviously it was like, but that was just Corey Seager just being Corey Seager. Like
there's a reason why he won MVP, right?
Exactly. It's why they gave him that $300 million contract. Like he's gonna perform like really well in like those moments, and you got to tip your cap to him.
Well, I was thinking. Well, I was talking to you guys a little bit after the game, and I know conspiracy theories and every single sport is scripted and everything, but I could have swore I saw them advertising the we'll give $1,000 or something like that if there's a walk-off.
They did that several times.
They advertised it like 4 or 5 times in game 1, and I'm thinking like, oh, there's no way. It's not going to happen. And then of course, the 8th inning happens, and I'm like, no way, this can't happen. They're not going to do that. And then, yeah.
Once Paul walked that leadoff batter in the 9th inning, that's especially, it wasn't even like it was like the dude just worked a good at bat. Well, he worked a good at bat, but it wasn't like the Paul just lost it, or Paul like whatever. Like 9 pitches, some close calls. Like the umpire was good in game 1, at least we can say.
And it was a number 9 hitter. Number 9 hitter batting like 140 or whatever.
Yeah, like because he got Marcus Semien out to where like if you get that first batter out, you get Semien out. Obviously, you get the first batter out, Semien could hit a solo shot. Everything can change, but man, there's like 3 or 4 pitches, like Brandon was saying, like 3 or 4 pitches, and this is a 2-0 lead coming back to Arizona.
And I think it was Brett who said in the chat after game 1, after Garcia hit that walk-off, he's like, that felt like a moment where changed the outcome of the series.
Yeah, you have to get that first one.
They won game 2, so I didn't think it was a thing, but I think it was.
Yeah, like all I could think about, because watching those 3 games, being at 2 of them, like at home, like the entire time, anytime the offense like came up short with runners in scoring position, typical 2023 Diamondbacks fashion, anything like that, like I would always just be kind of sitting there. I'm like, we could be up 2-0 right now. Like, yeah, like we lose 3, we could still lose 3 at home, but at least we're going back to Texas, making it, like where Texas has not played. Because even when we came back here and going into the series, I was a little bit afraid because of the whole, like, 1, the Rangers have not lost on the road this playoffs. And 2, I think it was after game 2, the stat came out that both the Diamondbacks and the Rangers were both undefeated when they score first. And as we saw, like, how many opportunities in, like, those 3 games? Oh, I want to say 2 games, because that game 4, if it wasn't for Torey Lovullo putting in Miguel Castro and Ryan Nelson, who pitched the night before, could be a completely different game. But at least all, like, the other 2 in that series, like there was plenty of opportunities for the Diamondbacks to score first, and like they just couldn't get it done. Like, tip of the cap to the Rangers, though. Like, I will admit, like, all we heard after that Phillies NLCS series was, oh, how the Phillies, hitters choked, how like Bryce Harper and Trey Turner, and like, don't get me wrong, that could be true in some form, but you still got to give credit to like the other team who like did their job. They executed well. Like you could read all the scouting reports in the world, you can have all of the computers and analytics in the world, but actually going out there and executing where you need to execute is a very different ball game. Where the D-backs did that in the NLCS, and I'll admit, like the Rangers bullpen, like not good, not good in the entire regular season, not good in the playoffs, but they fucking stepped up, man. Like they really stepped up for this series. Like, didn't they have like what the first 4 games like 0 runs allowed, something like that, or the first three because there was a bullpen game in Game 4 when we almost got when we got blown out to start.
That was not a bullpen game. Haney, a former starter, goes
Our
5 innings.
bullpen game, sorry, our bullpen game.
Yes.
I was saying in that first game, what inning did we get Evaldi out? Was it was the third, right? He only won like 2 in the third.
It was the fourth or the fifth.
Yeah, I think it might have been the fourth. There's only 3 innings, and after that, they held him scoreless. I think even hitless after that for a while. So you're talking about their bullpen pitching something like 6 or 7 innings of shutdown baseball, and it's like, you know, they had been bad all season long. Suddenly they get to the World Series and they lights out. I mean, what can you do? The D-backs only had their chances in like the bottom of the 8th or the 9th or whatever. Couldn't get it done. And I think that's when I was like, oh no, like something's bad is gonna happen. Like when the 9th had a couple runners on, nothing happened. I'm like, man, if they would have just gotten one more run, and then the 9th came, and whatever happened. But yeah, no, they shut the D-backs down. What are you going to do? There's a reason why these guys are getting paid what they're getting paid. They traded for these guys. They have a bigger budget than us. What can you do?
It was interesting too. We were talking about it that for some reason, whenever it was pitchers that we expected to just go off on, we always made them look like Cy Young winners.
Yeah.
And then we go against these starters where they're supposed to shut us out, and then we go and we score 3 or 4 runs on them, in the first 2 innings, and we take them out, and then we can't do anything against the bullpen. So it seemed like we were playing to their level, and that was where we really struggled.
It's like we played into their hands on like how they wanted us to like go about it, which I guess could probably be what the downside to having a young team. But I guess the positive, because I've coping, whatever you want to say, I've been trying to look at any positive. The amount of people on this team that are 25 years and younger. Evan Longoria is the only person that actually had World Series experience, like going into this. Maybe Ryan Thompson. I don't know if he was on the 2020 Rays. I don't think he was. He was okay. So then, like, even like there's a few, but like not like it's not like you have like a lot of these other teams like deep into the playoffs where like these guys know what they're getting into, like they're ready for it. And like the D-backs for getting as far as they did with the young guys they did, like I think it really showed in the World Series. Like some of those at bats weren't the best. Like Cattell definitely had a few of those at bats with runners in scoring position. Like we wouldn't have been there without Cattell. Like no Cattell slander here whatsoever. But there were a few of the home game at bats where he had like a runner in scoring position and he's swinging like out of his shoes, like MLB The Show fans, power swinging on like the second that ball leaves his hand, doesn't matter where it's going, he is just going to swing for contact, Javi Baez style. And it was ugly. And that's what sucked because, like, as we saw, he can put up some amazing at bats. The whole team can put up some amazing at bats. And like, it's baseball. Sometimes the Rangers pitching just gets in your head. But I don't know, man. There was a 3 games in a row there at home where I was like, I don't know who these hitters were. These are not the same hitters that we saw for all of October leading up until this last week.
I think we need to set up a counter where we count this season how many times Ketel Marte swings out of his helmet.
Yeah, that was crazy.
He tries to hit the 5-run home run with nobody on.
It's like, you can't do that, dude.
Yeah, I think something that I noticed this time, and I actually noticed in 2017, so far these guys haven't complained about it, but it was something I heard from some of the other players in 2017 was that this is a whole new format for them. They're not used to the playoff format because, you have guys like Seager, Semien, all these guys on the Rangers who've been there before. But you have start times of 2 p.m., 5 p.m., sometimes a little later. So you're talking about these guys who are used to, waking up at 8, 9, getting to the ballpark at 1, 2, stretching, eating, doing whatever they're doing, and then starting the game at 6. So suddenly these young guys are traveling across country to Milwaukee, to LA, back home, then back to Philadelphia, and then back here, then back to Philadelphia. So it's hard for them to get a real routine going because everyone knows baseball players, and not just baseball players, all athletes are creatures of habit. Yeah, they're creatures of habit. We all have we all have our routine when we wake up, we check our phones, do this, do that. And so for them to suddenly just be in a new situation, they're not comfortable being in these situations where they're suddenly, at the ballpark at what, 9, 10 a.m. maybe. And they're young guys. They like to go out, they like to do stuff. And so I think, coming so hopefully next year, next few years, they know their routines, hopefully by then. So they can, get accustomed to being there, knowing when to take BP. Because, like I said, this is the first time.
The one thing that really pissed me off game one was the fans on Twitter that were like, "Oh, Paul Sewald is done as our closer." I'm like, "Are you kidding me? They don't make the they don't make the playoffs without Paul Sewald."
I agree. Like, it was really frustrating seeing people that were like, I think it's just Twitter fan base in general. Like, there's even times where like even my reaction might be like, God fucking damn it, Paul. Like, why would you throw that
Yeah.
pitch there? Yada yada yada. But like, it's that's where it's like, the sensible fan where you go, oh cool, that's just baseball, versus the people that are like, oh, fire him, get him out of here, fire Torey Lovullo, fire
You
Hazen,
mean
get everyone.
how
It's like,
the entire fan base
relax for a
was in
minute.
the month of August? They're like, "Fire Tori." I was like, "Y'all, he's doing the best that he can with the toys that he has."
Yeah, I
He's
think this playoff
trying.
run, especially with like, Hazen said it. I still really don't understand what Ken Kendrick meant by his words, but I'm just gonna take them as a positive, hopefully. Like, I really think it opened up their minds to be like, wow, like, yeah, sometimes like, yeah, you can't be like the Padres and fully spend to make a World Series team, but you also can't not spend and expect to compete with some of these teams that like, and again, like the Rangers like didn't. I think we had like a 120 to 140, and then like, and again, like that doesn't mean anything. Like, there's teams that spend money to win, like the Dimebacks when we got a ring in 01. We can bought that ring if you want to go by or the people that want to go by buying championships, like they bought that ring. Like, we're not complaining about it. I'm not going to complain about it. Like, I don't have memories of it, but I will still be happy with it. But there's times where, you got to find that like happy medium. That's why I think this offseason is going to be really important for how they address it. Like, they could really fumble the bag and they could really make some smart moves.
Yeah, I think our fans are very, very forgetful of what we had beforehand, because before the commission, the closing commission, I mean, do you want to go back to Mark Melancon? Like, that's what we had before as a closer.
I think a lot of these fans were not here in 2021. They did not see how bad this team was. And I think Gabe said it in our chat. There's no reason that they can't spend this offseason half of what their current payroll is. So like an extra $60 million. Get it between 190 and 200. I think this team can get back to the World Series, because doing that, we get a legit third starting pitcher, put Brandon Pfaadt at fourth. Because we didn't have a fourth starting pitcher, that's why we had a bullpen game. That's the only reason. We had no one else to put out there. And in hindsight, yes, the way Ryan Nelson pitched, you kind of wish he would have done it. But he, like his quote said, he had not earned that.
Yeah. And I will tip my cap to Ryan. Like, he's not like, he didn't throw his team under the bus like, oh yeah, it's not my choice to when I come into the game. He, like, we all saw, like, especially home field or Chase Field, Ryan Nelson was not good this year. This like had like, I don't have the stats in front of me, but I remember seeing he had like a 6 something plus ERA at home, maybe even more.
He threw 144 innings with a 5.3 ERA all year. That is not good.
Yeah, and I'm pretty
sure. I
don't
blame them for not putting him out there.
And that's where I'm like, it sucks, but it's also one of those where in game 4, like, if I'm being honest, when the rosters were released for the World Series and I saw Slade Ciccone wasn't on there, I was a little worried, because even I was like, all right, you're going to have a bullpen game at some point. I get starting like a Joe Mantiply. I get going with a 1 or 2 inning guy. But that's where, like, instead of a Miguel Castro, you throw in a Slade Ciccone, you throw in a Ryan Nelson, you throw in a Bryce Jarvis, you throw in a dude that, like, not like, obviously, like, yes, it's the World Series. Like they might not have experience, but nobody on this roster has that experience. Like nobody, like it's the World Series at this point. Like if you want it, you're gonna want it, and if you don't want it, it's gonna show on the mound. Like obviously, I know Torrey went with whoever, but it's still one of those like I don't know, like you shouldn't have to have a bullpen game. And I think that's like, kind of going back to like what we're going to talk about, like some of the weaknesses where the Rangers didn't. The Rangers had Evaldi, Montgomery, Heaney. They could throw Max Scherzer.
John
They were
Gray.
missing Jacob DeGrom. Like they
John
actually had
Gray.
starting pitchers. Yeah, John Gray. Like even though those dudes, like just like most playoffs, your 3, 4, 5 or two, I'd say 4 or 5 guys usually get turned into bullpen arms, and you can rock with like 3 starting pitchers. The D-backs made it to the World Series with 2 starting pitchers and 2.5. I don't want to disrespect Brandon Pfaadt. Brandon Pfaadt really, really stepped up
I
this
think the
postseason.
half is Zach Gallen. I think
Yeah, yeah.
Brandon
I will say
Pfaadt
two,
you
is
might
two and
have
a
a
half.
point
Yeah,
there.
Brandon Pfaadt stepped up. Zach Gallen, like, and it sucks too because Zach Gallen had some really good starts in the wild card, NLDS, NLCS didn't, and then the World Series definitely redeemed. Well, not even like game 1, rough first inning, but the fact that he was able to get through 5
5
3-run
innings, 3
ball
runs.
against that lineup, like I'm not going to complain too much, especially like how we felt with the bullpen going into the World Series, like all playoffs. Like I was a little bit confident where I'm like, hey, if you can just exit this game in the 5th or 6th with the lead, you at least did your job. And like as we saw in game 5, he I would say he earned his Boris money from that kind
Yeah.
of performance.
he
I
did.
also want to talk about the money in particular too, like about spending, because with the way this team was going when they had their slide, I really felt like they got abandoned by Hazen. Who did we get? Tommy Pham, which he was great for us. Tommy Pham was great. Seawald was great, but what everyone knew we needed, yeah, with third guy, like what we needed was a starter. At that point in time, we had Gallen and Kelly, and then we had a rotation of guys. We still had Matt. No, we didn't have Matt Bohm at that point, but we had Davies maybe, and we had all these guys. And what did the Rangers do? They went out and got Max Scherzer, and you know who they gave up for Max Scherzer? Cash and Luis Angel Acuna Jr.
Ronald's brother.
Ronald's brother. He's like 16 or something. Like he's like this young guy. That doesn't mean he's not going to be good, but he's not going to help the Mets, until maybe 10 years from now. But he's not going to help the Rangers. He wasn't going to help the Rangers in the minors. So that's what frustrated me. I'm like, the D-backs could have taken his 20-something million or whatever that he needed on his contract, but we knew he wasn't. We knew Kendrick wasn't going to take on that money because why would he?
I mean, especially at the time, like at the trade deadline, like don't like hindsight's 2020 and all that. Looking back on it, especially with the way the season started, like it was kind of like we weren't even expected to be that good, and came back down to earth a little bit. So I can see why like I don't think it was good to not get a starting pitcher. I really wish they would have gotten like Jordan Montgomery or like any other like 3-man in the rotation. But I can somewhat see their reluctancy to trade to like fully go all in, especially. I can't
The
speak.
reason
Especially
why everyone
the,
was asking for
Alex
Alex
Thomas
Thomas,
and
and
Brandon
Hazen's
Pfaadt.
like, no, because he
Yeah,
knows how
and,
good
and that's
he
what
is.
and that's what sucks. Like I think if anything, instead of it being like he didn't do enough at the trade deadline, it could be he didn't do enough going into the season, and like he will admit that. All of us will admit that. Like everyone knew that. Like when you're going into the season with Madison Bumgarner, which you cut a month into the season, which I don't even know why we had him. Zach Gallen, Merrill Kelly, Zach Davies, and obviously Tommy Henry, Dre Jameson, Ryan Nelson. Those were like very promising young guys. Like after last year, when they ended the year, we were like, we have starting pitching finally. We have 5 pitchers. Let's go. Very different looking back on it, but like you can't tell me going into the season you're going to be competitive and you're going to be paying Madison Bumgarner and Zach Davies like 22 million combined. Like that's what teams do when they're just trying to coast through a season.
Yeah, and the thing is, with teams like Texas, the Dodgers, Philadelphia, these teams can afford to make mistakes on guys. They have Jacob DeGrom. How much are they paying DeGrom? Like 40 million too. And where's he at?
Literally getting like he literally has the same surgery as I. Let's go.
Yeah. So I mean, like he didn't play at all. He didn't play the whole season. He pitched what, 5 games maybe. And what did they do? They got Max Scherzer, who at the time was hurt too. So I'm like,
He hasn't.
Why couldn't the D-backs get
He,
him?
Scherzer and
why couldn't we
DeGrom did
get him?
not contribute to their World Series run whatsoever. Yes, they're going to get rings, but they were not the reason they made it.
Yeah,
To
that's
where
why
they were.
like I definitely think like it. I will like agree with Gabriel at least in a little bit of like it is nice to have that like insurance of like yes, Max Scherzer wasn't doing the greatest, but I can imagine like if you're gonna go into the playoffs, like knowing if we didn't know what we knew now, like you know how we felt going into game 1 of the wild card with Fott being our starting pitcher, we were a little worried. If you would have told me like, hey, you have options of like Max Scherzer or like, even like Justin Verlander, like looking back on it, I would have loved if we would have not giving up anybody majorly talent wise, but if we would have given up like 3 prospects to bring on JV, I would have been all for it looking back on it now because like, well, sorry, if at the time because you know having like it's the pedigree, it's the you know what you're gonna get at least to some degree, you know what you can get. Where going into it, we know what we can get with Brandon Fott. The dude stepped up, but going into the playoffs, like at least speaking from my experience, I know I'm very glass half full. I was like, you know, this is gonna be a 3-4 run, like just because that's what he showed us. Like he was very gave up home runs, like you know, just had those blow up innings, just like a lot of D-backs pitchers, where it didn't give us that confidence going in to where at least like other guys, like I guess like Verlander, Kershaw, different versions of like when the playoffs happen, there's guys that like they could have the shittiest regular season and they will just lock in for the playoffs and they're a different breed. But they could have the greatest regular season, the greatest half from a trade deadline, and you're like, this is the best thing ever. And they just choke in the playoffs. They just disappear. Like they just don't have their same stuff.
Kershaw.
Exactly, Kershaw. Like
Dodgers.
that's why like I can see like I think the Rangers just kind of got not lucky because they have a good roster. They at least in a way were lucky that they didn't need to rely on Scherzer and DeGrom, where like the D-backs needed to rely on guys that like
Gallen and Kelly.
yeah, like just 2 guys that like again very good pitchers, but they're not a Scherzer and DeGrom. They're not like that. You know what you're gonna get like going into the postseason. Like we didn't know what we were gonna get.
Oh, I have a curious question too, for you guys really quick, just about the Rangers, because it felt like for me, everyone was treating them like they were underdogs and that they shouldn't have been there and that they got lucky because of the wild card and everything. But I always understood that they were supposed to be powerhouses, especially from the beginning of the season. You know, that they were dominant and I thought they just had a
They
bad
led the
run
AL
for a little
West
bit of time.
for like
For
over
like 4
100
months.
days.
Yeah, like
Yeah,
they were
so
good.
why was
like,
everyone treating them like they were lucky to be there, like
I th-
us? You
I
know,
think
like
it's everyone wanted to fall into the whole like, oh, not big market. Can't even say big market. Texas has over $500 million on their payroll.
Right.
Like they're a big market, but like it's not the sexy teams that are in the World Series. So we're
Mhm.
just gonna immediately go into the you didn't deserve to be here. It's like, dude, like don't get me wrong. Like I get it's not like you know if I wasn't a fan of either of these teams, maybe I would have been like, you know, I'll catch a game here and there, but I'm not gonna like dedicate my time to sit down and tune in. But that's pretty much every World Series. Like last year, the Phillies and Astros, I didn't give two like I would turn it on because I like playoff baseball, but I'm like I don't really care that much.
Ratings
Like
the last
ratings
few
are so dumb.
years have gone down. It's not just that, like everyone pointed to this year because it's recent, but if you look back, every year it's gone down every year
Yeah,
because it's
like
teams
literally
it's not the big market. It's
like
not the LA. It's not the
how
New
many
York.
Philly
It's
fans were
not
telling
the
us like,
Boston.
oh, this is going to be the worst World Series ever. I'm like, my brother in Christ, your World Series from last year is the second least watched in history. Please shut the fuck up.
At least we didn't get no
Well,
hit in the World Series.
Thank you.
Yeah. Go
Also,
rewatch Game 1.
I just don't think MLB knows how to market people. If it's not LA, it's not New York. It just seems like they kind of just don't advertise. I didn't see a single advertisement anywhere on TV about the World Series.
You want to make sure you have as many eyes on each game as you can possible. But look at like today, the NFL. How many games are going on at once? Where like I will tune in back and forth to each game going on just because of like I'm interested in it. Like going on like like the 3 or the 2 o'clock slate. There's 2 games going on back and forth that like I'm interested in both and I will check out both. Like the MLB has no excuse to like it's 2 different fucking leagues. Have your you know two games in the NL and AL be at the 2 o'clock. Like I can see like an early afternoon game. There shouldn't be a 10 o'clock, 11 o'clock game for someone's area. Like I'm sorry that is just dumb. Like if you're trying to market your game, you're trying to do all that. Like that is legitimately just not even using your brain. I don't know what they're doing.
I wanted to point out too that Brett, you said that you were able to watch those games,
Mhm.
and it feels like with the local markets, like Arizona is a really big market, Texas is a really big market, but they can't watch their teams, and then you got people in California and Southern California, they can't watch the Diamondbacks even if they were interested. You have to go through all these runarounds that we definitely don't do MLB to watch our teams. But it feels like, and especially with a young group of fans that would maybe be willing to watch, but they just get discouraged because there's no way to really watch it legally. So I think we're losing a market because they don't make it available to people. There's not that many people that are going to buy cable. There's not that many people that are going to spend hundreds of dollars for a year of MLB TV and then not be able to watch their local team. It's like, I'm not going to watch the Blue Jays when I'm in Arizona, not every single game.
Yeah, and like I think that kind of goes back to like World Series ratings. Like everyone wants to make a big deal about ratings, but like at the same time, how many people like do you know? Like I know that like say like, oh, I just watch it on Stream East. Like not knocking it. Like hey, like Suns games for years, I watched it however way I could, but like that directly like affects the streaming numbers. Like how many tens of thousands, if not hundreds of thousands, of people are watching things that are in the not like counted ways to where like yeah, it's not going to show up on the numbers, but like you're still having people have eyes on the product.
Yeah, I don't think anybody I really know watches live TV, right? Like, if you watch something, you watch it on Hulu the next day. You wait till the seasons come out. I haven't met people who have watched, must see TV the day it comes out. Even when Game of Thrones was on, most people, when would they watch it? They'd watch it the next day. Same with baseball. Baseball, you can't really do that in baseball, but
Yeah, there's sometimes where some sports like I jump into like at the middle, and like all I'm like I'll just catch the highlights in the morning. Like I'll watch the thing in the morning, or like some shows where I'm busy when it comes out. I'll watch it a week later.
Yeah. So, yeah, we could go on this for quite a bit. But just in terms of the games, I feel like Game 3 was stolen from us. It's the third or the fourth. I don't remember which. It was the inning where they scored those 3 runs on the 2 outs because Nathaniel Lowe. That is not a walk. That should have been a strikeout. That would have been the
The
second.
entire ball is in the zone.
you saw like 6 strikes in a row, and the umpire was just not giving him an out. And I'm
That
like,
one I felt was stolen from a Game 4 was Torrey had his one bad manager choice of the entire postseason.
He
He went
undid
with
all the
Miguel
goodwill.
Castro.
yeah. Also,
He did
I
put in
think
Pavin
something
Smith, so don't forget about that.
Oh,
Yeah,
just saying.
I'm not gonna.
Oh,
But
here I can actually pull up. So, looking at, I'm gonna find where the pitch was exactly, what inning. So, Nathaniel Lowe, top of the third. He had one pitch, sorry, that was called a ball that previously was called a strike, was fouled off. And then, God, where was it? Yeah, there was one. What inning was it? The fourth?
Yeah,
it was like the
because
bottom outside corner, I think, but it
yeah,
was straight. It was still in the zone, clearly in the zone. I know the Fox track or whatever is not always accurate. Everyone knew it. Even he knew it. He was about to walk off, and he knew he got struck out. And then they called the ball, and you can tell he was like, okay, all right, cool. Guess we got to walk. And it was not the only one, but it was frustrating that with umpires because they say human element, human element. I'm like,
no,
why should
I'm
we
tired of
have
that.
to
Get the
the human
right call.
element?
I like the human element for bang bang calls at bases. Like those, like I still like you got to have that because like you can't just have a dude sitting at the base like on a double play or something. For example, like you don't know, like it's nice to have the umpire's call, and that's why I like the replay system being where it is, where you can challenge those. But if we're gonna keep the human element behind the plate, implement a like what they did in the minors and what they're doing in some of these other ones, like implement the challenge system for balls and strikes. I don't get how in the year of 2023 we're still letting 60 plus, not again, not a whole, you can be whatever age you want umpiring, but like it is proven once you're past a certain age your eyes are not as good as they were. So when you have guys like Alfonso Marquez that are getting World Series home plate games, who is 67th out of 75 umpires when it comes to accuracy, but Pat Hoberg, who called a perfect fucking game in the World Series last year, gets 0 World Series games this year. Like I don't understand how you can just like ignore like you want a good product. You want it to be like, you don't want to have like, and again, the D-backs also had plenty of opportunities they botched in that game 3 where they could have turned it around, like, bad hitting, but at the same time, like, how many at bats could go from a 1 or from a 2-1 to a 1-2 because of a bad call from the umpire, and that gets in their head and that messes up how their approach at the plate is. Like, you can't make an excuse. Yeah, like, you can't make an excuse for just subpar umpires being in your biggest stage. Like, even like the NBA, other things are bad. Like, but I feel like the MLB is the one sport where you can accurately measure how good or bad an officiating crew is. Like,
Yeah.
NFL, so many ticky tacky calls. NBA, same. Like, I don't really watch NHL. It could be the same there. But like baseball, like especially home plate and like, yeah, calls of the plays, like there's not really much black and white. There's like a definitive, like, this is a strike, this is a
There's
ball, this was
no
an out, he was safe.
subjective calls in baseball. A lot of
Yeah,
it's
Shouldn't be.
either yes or no.
yeah,
Was that a
and
strike?
that's why
Was it a ball? Did the guy catch it before he touched the base? Yes or no? Like,
Yeah, why
there's
even
not
call
a
it with
lot of
a
that.
strike zone then at that point? If the guy behind the plate is not going to call it accurately, one thing, it's like in the first inning, a ball outside, strike. Ninth inning, everyone knows, okay, he's been calling this all game long, this ball outside, all game long, all 300 pitches or whatever later, he's been calling it. Ninth inning, 3-2 count, you throw the ball the exact same place it had been all game, and he calls it a ball. What do you do then?
Yeah, it just seems like even from the perspective of the umpires too, you're going through all these different games, you're working your butt off, you're traveling, you're going to all these different places, and you're one of the best, you're top 10. And you think, oh, okay, well, I should get rewarded because I can imagine these umpires get, really nice bonuses or something for working the World Series. You get, lots of coverage, people know your name, whether that's good or bad. But you're like, in the top 10, and then the bozo that's 67th gets the umpire in the World Series. They take the job over you. In any other company or any other place that you'd work, that would be ridiculous. That'd be an outrage. And so even with the perspective of the umpire side, it really doesn't make any sense why you would, however they pick it, roll of the dice, or eeny meeny miny mo, or however they're picking these umpires.
if anything, some of the performances in the playoffs kind of make it seem like the MLB really lets like, I don't think they have a full incentive, like, you with the way you're bringing it up. That would actually be really cool if the like MLB did that, where it's like, hey, if you're in the top so percent of like accuracy, whether it's like home plate calls or like balls and strike calls or like in the field calls, you get like, some kind of bonus, some kind of like, you have a better chance to be in a playoff game. Because if that's not already the case, like that, not like to make excuse for umpires, that kind of makes sense why some of these dudes just are out there, like Angel Hernandez, guys that act like they don't give a shit because the MLB umpires union is going to keep them having a job.
It's
But
all
there's no
about
incentive to
seniority.
keep them being like, oh, I actually want to do my job well. Like Brandon like just said, like they get to that seniority of like, oh, I've been here longer, so like what I say goes. Like, this is my zone, get used to it, bud. It's like, no, this isn't a little league, this isn't a high school game. Like, that shit can fly in the lower levels and where it doesn't matter. This is a multi-million-dollar like sport, or sorry, multi-billion-dollar league. There's no excuse for why we're still letting 50 something plus year old people with like bad eyesight determine like crucial critical calls in major sporting events. I don't get it.
I've always viewed Angel Hernandez and those umpires. I've always viewed them as like tenured professors. Where they are in the league, they've got it set. They do whatever they want. They're not going to get fired because I'm Angel Hernandez. So it's never made any sense to me why they can just act like that, and it's so blatant too. And I mean, if you remember too, the ridiculous call. I'm just remembering the umpire. I can't remember who it was that threw out the catcher that didn't catch the ball that he tried to drop in his glove. Things like
Oh, that
that is
was,
just.
yeah, forgot about that.
You remember
Wow.
that? It wasn't
Yeah,
the
literally,
Diamondbacks,
it was
but
against
yeah,
JT. It was
he put
JT
his glove
Realmuto.
back. Yeah, he put his glove back to get it. He didn't get it after like a second or two, so he brought his glove back down. Umpire tried to drop it too late, and he throws him out, thinking that that he's doing out of spite. It's like, why are you, as a grown man, being this petty? You know, we're all adults here, and like this is a really important game. All these games count. There's a huge amount of money on the line in all these different ways that we can't even think about. And you've got umpires, throwing people out because their feelings got hurt. It just does not make any sense why these umpires don't feel like they are like they feel like they're safe and they can do whatever they want. And there should be a ton of umpires out there just foaming at the mouth with the opportunity to get up there and actually be a good umpire.
It's just frustrating. It's just, and it gets worse
Dude, it takes out
every
the crowd too. Like, I mean, like I was there for game 3. Like, like I'm very vocal about the, you guys know, like I try to be, starting the chants and all that. I will fully say right now, game 3 was probably the most proud I've ever been as like just a D-back fan, or like the amount of let's go D-back, like there was chants being started by like almost every section throughout the entire ballpark from like an hour before first pitch up until the last out. Like it was one of the most electric Diamondbacks like atmospheres I've ever been a part. And like I've been a lot, like I wasn't a part of the 2017 wild card, so I can't compare it to that. Like I was there, for the Dodgers, 4 home runs in 1 inning. Like that got it like electric.
that place
And like,
erupted that in.
but
That
imagine like that kind of energy for like the entire like 4 hours. It really made me go, this is it is nice to see after all of the shit that was talked about Diamondbacks fans going into NLCS game 3. And like I'll even admit, like we're a transplant city, like that's why ticket prices fluctuate so much whether they win or lose, because people only want to see a winner, whether like it doesn't matter. Like even like I said, like I'll go, they can lose 10-0. My dad and brother went to the game 4 where they like were down 11 runs and they stayed the entire time because they're like, we're like, what else do you want other than to see your team in a World Series? Like it was really nice. Like those games, the atmosphere. I don't know if you guys heard on the TV, the fan base really showed out for those games.
we got a lot longer than I thought we were going to. Real quick, we'll start. Every favorite moment of the postseason, mine personally, was the Alec Thomas 2-run home run.
Yep,
Yeah.
agreed.
That was more of everyone seeing what we all knew, that Alec Thomas is one of the best center fielders personally in Major League. Defensively, he's top 5. There is no doubt about it. We should find out here fairly soon if he wins Gold Glove. I don't think he's going to.
No.
Oh, that's tonight. Oh my god, yeah.
Yeah.
That home
for me it
run.
was also Alex. So I'll admit I wasn't watching the game at that point because
I wasn't either,
saw them
actually. I
go
was
down,
working.
and I was like,
Dude,
man,
let
we're
me-
already down 2-0. I'm gonna cry if the game keeps going the way it is. As I went to the movies, I went to go watch Killers of the Flower Moon. I'm like, I'll be gone for 3 hours. I don't care. Like, I won't watch the game. I get out and I just looked at the score. I'm like, that's not the score. Like, what happened? And so then I just like looked at the highlights really quick, walking out of the theater, and I'm like, they won? Like, how the hell did they win? And then I called my brother right away. I'm like, what happened? Like, what the hell happened? And he just told me, like, Alec hit a home run, and got in my car, just watched the highlights. I'm like, holy crap! Like,
That's our young king, Alec
Yeah,
Thomas.
our
everyone.
young
there's a
It's
reason
who
why
we
he
are.
is the young king. Exactly.
It's
Yeah.
like it's
Yeah, I'll
and
agree.
the original idea was to have him bunt.
Yes, I remember like Tori going up there, like, oh yeah, say Josh, I don't know if you like saw that. There was a clip going around the internet where before that at bat, like the cameras are on Alec and Tori, and Tori's basically being like, hey, like go up there, like look to try to get on with the bunt, try to like move him over with the bunt, like all that. Started with the plan to bunt him over, and I think we saw what happened with that.
Like
They really tried to put him in the Chicken Little situation, the don't swing.
Oh,
Like,
dude, holy shit, you're right, yeah.
Like, that
yeah,
was
and then he goes and he's like, I got this. And I mean, he proved to us. And I think it's so interesting too that Alec Thomas, I wonder if he's really kind of implanted himself as a power hitter this playoffs, because I don't think he was really
he had 4,
too
right?
well known as a power hitter. But
Yeah.
he had a great
He
playoff
had what, an 850
Yeah,
run
OPS, right?
with home
Am I wrong?
runs.
850 OPS,
I think so.
which
Eric,
compared to his regular season, which is what, 670 maybe.
650, 670 around there. Yeah,
Yeah,
definitely an improvement.
and I'm
And even
yeah,
if
saying
he
he's
like,
went
not
from
like a full
pulling
power
ground
threat,
balls to hitting them in the over the fence. It was incredible.
which even if
yeah,
he's not a full power threat, the fact that you can have an outfielder that might put up 15 plus home runs from the center field position while also playing insane Gold Glove defense, like I'm very happy we didn't make more moves at the deadline.
So Josh, what's your favorite moment?
I'll do something different. I mean, it feels like it's a pretty obvious one though. It's the 4 home runs in an inning. So at least with my story behind it. So I'm watching the game with my wife and my son, and it's just before these things happen. And so we're watching, we're having a good time. The half inning ends, and I'm like, all right, I got to go to work. And my work was about 15 minutes to 20 minutes away from my house. And so the bottom, I believe we were at home. So bottom of the inning starts, and I'm starting to drive. I'm listening to the radio, and they start hitting bombs one after another. And I'm in my car, so I'm all by myself, and I am screaming at the top of my lungs, just oh, just
Yeah,
amazing. But yeah, I'm just like listening to this, and it's like no way they're doing it again, no way. And then next guy comes up, I'm like, wouldn't it be so funny? And then they did. And then next person hits a home run, and I'm screaming like crazy. And I think I just about lost my voice within 15 minutes of a commute to my work. All of that happened, I believe, but between those 15 minutes, from me driving from home to work, and it was amazing. I wish I would have done anything to have been there during that game. I know, Brett, you
I was
said you
there.
were there.
yeah.
Yeah,
It
it's just
was
so jealous.
going from the Gabby, like obviously the 3 home runs in a row, like the place was already like the vibes was
Gabby,
crazy. But when Gabby hit that home run that was originally called a home
I
run,
was sitting
and then
in
like
that section. I'm like, that thing was
that's not
5 feet foul. That is
yeah,
an
literally even I
easy.
was watching and I was
yeah,
like, I'm pretty sure I saw yellow pole and then the ball like go right this way, and like because I'm behind home plate at the time, I was like, that's a foul ball. But like it took like 10 minutes or like 5-10 minutes or whatever. Like the energy definitely came down a little bit. Like oh cool, we're all back at the normal playoff baseball. Let's go, we're waiting for the next exciting thing, dude. The next pit
Next
when Gabby ripped that
fucking
thing,
bitch.
I'm pretty sure like 20,000
incredible.
people were already up out of their like seats, just waving the towel before the ball even like made it like 3/4 of the way out of the stadium. Like everyone, it was one of the few times where like I've actually been like, holy, like that's gone, like that's that's dead gone. Like it's not even a no doubter, but like I know it's gone. Everyone just starts going crazy. It
Yeah,
was it was a great moment.
it was amazing. Yeah, yeah. I was sitting in front of Dodger fans at that point, and I just kept turning around. They're like, "Shut up." They're like, I didn't have to say anything. They just knew.
yeah. I was actually in Germany at the time.
Oh,
Um,
that's right.
That's right.
yeah, so at that moment it was 3 a.m. maybe 3 a.m. in the morning. I was thinking like, should I watch? Should I not watch? And then there was like a huge storm, so I was like, screw it. I'll just listen to the radio, maybe try to fall asleep here and there. And then I heard, that one's gone. That one's gone. I'm like, what the hell is going on right now? And then I heard, the third home run. I'm going crazy, like trying not to scream, waking everybody up. And then Gabby hit that last home run. I'm like, I have never wanted to like scream louder than at that moment, but I couldn't because I'm like, there's people around here. They're asleep. It's 3, 4 in the morning. But man, like I was screaming so hard on the inside. So literally, by the time that game ended, I was in tears, like literally just from the emotion, keeping it all in. And finally, I was like, I just let myself cry. And that same exact thing, that one of my favorite memories is watching Carol get that final out in the NLCS. All of us in the living room were crying. We were just like, there's just so much built up emotion, so much happiness, and then finally seeing like it feels like you're being rewarded for being a fan, right? Right?
Yeah.
Especially doing it against the Dodgers too.
Yeah.
Oh, dude, literally the only thing going into that series, you could probably guys attest to it. Before we move on, like the only thing I thought about was I was like, I have so many sour memories from 2017. Like just so much, like 2017, and then not only that, but when did it start? Was it 20? What was the year we got in the fight with the Dodgers? The
13, I
Yarnell,
think.
because I know
13.
the same year the
I think that
Yarnell
was
fire
like
happened.
2-3 years ago. No.
No, this is like 2012, 2013.
Oh, a different fight. Okay.
Yeah, like the fight where like Gerardo
I was about to say
Parra.
we've been in a lot of fights with the Dodgers.
Yeah.
I meant the when Zach Greinke was a Dodger, when he threw at Ian Kennedy and like the whole bench is cleared,
Was
like
that
when we had Eric
2011 then,
Hinsky.
right? 2011 maybe?
I think it was 2011 or 12, and the reason why it hurts more is because they fucking came back. We were winning the division the whole year, came back, we had a fight, did that, jumped in our pool, and then like all I could think about, I was like, I don't care. We could go into the NLCS and get swept. I don't care if we could just beat the fucking Dodgers for once.
Me, once we swept the Dodgers, I'm not, anything else is gravy. Like we were playing with house money at that point. Like it was simply amazing. So our last topic of episode number 1 here is there is a new Western Diamondback at the Phoenix Zoo. Its name is Ranger. Josh put this in here. I don't know anything about the story. Like what like was it just the bet that whoever won?
Yeah, so the Phoenix Zoo and I believe it was the Dallas Zoo, they messaged at each other, and they were just talking about, hey, let's make a bet. And I think it had to do with like each other's, like they had different Western Diamondbacks that they had at their zoo, and they made the bet. Whoever won the World Series, the other gets to name their Diamondback. And so sadly, we lost, and they went through with it. So in the Phoenix Zoo, yeah, if you go right now, there should be a snake there called Ranger. So
I might have to go just for that.
Yeah, so if I'm being honest, Ranger's kind of a dope pet name.
Yeah.
It's just a dope name in general.
Especially for a snake, Ranger. That's super cool.
Yeah.
So
oh yeah, it's
gonna make me sad though every time I visit, because the little reminder, which is exactly what it's there for. But it is kind of funny to have that little, oh, by the way, a little trivia. So
yeah, so this is kind of the end here of episode 1, but before we go, we're gonna go around the group here and let everyone know where we can find our socials. I'm mainly on, I'm not calling it X, it's Twitter. You can find me on Twitter, Brandon Buck 88. My Instagram is the same as well. Josh?
Yeah, you can find me Twitter, or the platform formerly known as Twitter, Instagram, TikTok if you want to see my dog, at Hunstar05, Hunstar05.
Oh shit, I'm gonna follow you on TikTok. I didn't know you had a TikTok.
Brett, where can we find you on the socials?
Kind of same. Twitter. I'm gonna call it that because I'm just X sounds like I'm trying to send you to a site that is 18 plus. But Twitter, Brett_Johnson44. Got all of my half glass full takes, whether it's Dimebacks or just anything in general. Also stream. Yeah, Packers, exactly. So if you're into any Packers like content, you can come over there and like.
He had some pretty depressing tweets about the Packers today.
Oh yeah, it's definitely a fun time on my Twitter over there. So if you're interested in that, come drop a follow. Also, I do stream sometimes on Twitch. So it's just twitch.tv Brett Johnson 1997. Definitely talk a lot of Dbacks on there. So if you're into some Dbacks, like I need more Dbacks fans in my chats. So come through.
Gabe?
I am on Twitter at boldasbronze, and on Instagram I'm at, I believe it's YoGabby5, Gabby with 2 B's and a Y 5.
How new is that? How new is the Instagram handle? Because that just fits so well.
Like mid-June or something like that. Because I had Snowball Awkwardness, which is literally just basically it's an inside joke with 2 people, I think. Same with my other handle. I made it when I was 18, 19 or something. So
you guys will definitely know Brandon or Gabriel from Twitter, because he's always dropping and posting the fire ass fucking memes under like every Dback social post.
So, yeah, check me out on there. Follow me, YoGabby5 on Instagram and Bold as Bronze on Twitter. I post travel pictures and art on Instagram if you like that. And on Twitter, yeah, memes, just complaining about the Diamondbacks, maybe sometimes with the Suns too. So check me out.
Everyone, make sure to check out our Twitter as well, at Dbacks Dispatch, just like it sounds. If this is your first time on our YouTube channel, we appreciate you for tuning in. Make sure to like, comment, and subscribe. We're trying to grow our channel here, so any comments on this episode is very much appreciative. It helps the channel grow as much as we can. We will see y'all for episode 2.